are given this life, and we have, put halters on them to join us to do whatever we want to do, but I don't know that that's really fair to them. My name is Keegan Rumsey, and we are outside of Choteau, Montana, on the Rocky Mountain front. Well, I make my living as a human massage therapist, and then I recently started training as an equine body worker. So I'm mixing my clientele between humans and horses and mules here on the front. I got my own horse and mule and started using them in the backcountry, and my horse was injured partway through the summer. I wasn't able to ride him for quite a long time, and he's pretty high strung. I didn't want to just leave him alone. I was actually injured at the time as well and had more time on my hands, and had heard a little bit about equine bodywork and started looking into it and came across the Masterson method and found out it's a super interesting method working with the nervous system, and there's some crossover in some of the other bodywork I've done with humans, and I just sort of felt a pull to find out more about it. So I did on my horse and found out that it really helps build trust and connection. So I was able to kind of maintain that since I wasn't able to ride. And then with working animals, and especially when we get into the summer season around here, there's a lot of ranch animals, cow horses, animals that go into the backcountry that are packing, Forest Service and government and outfitters, and those animals are working day in and day out. So there's all kinds of different things that can happen when they're getting ridden. Things can happen in the pasture, in the trailer, that if it's left just to the horse, they're probably just going to deal with some ache or pain or tension for their life. But if you can keep up with it in a maintenance way along the way, you can help them function better. This Masterson method works to get animals into the parasympathetic state, and it's keeping them out of that fight or flight sympathetic state that they go to as prey animals. So when we get them into that, then they feel safe. And the more you help them get into that state, it builds a connection and bond with the owner or with the practitioner. It just allows that trust to happen. The horse that I'll work on has a pretty good tilt in her pelvis, and so when her owner rides her, she will buck when she lopes going one direction. And when I've worked on this horse in the past, that buck goes away. This is just a palpation assessment, and you just watch her reaction, and there's like a rating for it. So I kind of get an idea of where she's at in all the key places today. And I haven't done any work on her in probably a couple months, so she's got a little more built up than last time I worked on her. And I know this because when I lifted that right hind, she was a lot more reactive in that hock than she usually is. I grew up with horses. They were mostly pets out in the field. I rode a little bit. I started working for the Forest Service in the Bob Marshall Wilderness in 1999 in my early 20s. And I went in for the whole season to a backcountry station, and we used stock to get our jobs done. So we had a horse and a few mules that we put all our tools on for a 10-day hitch, and we'd go out and clear trails that way. And I continued that work for 20 years in a number of different capacities. When I worked for the Forest Service, I would use the same horse time and time again to where it felt like my horse. But if something came up and that horse was injured or became lame in some way, I was able to put it back in the corral and use another horse. So I used a lot of different animals over the years. I definitely wasn't tuned into how they were feeling or what they had going on in their body. I used them hard all season, and then they went to winter pasture, and that was sort of it, and I moved on to other things. The way we viewed them for a really long time in history has been as a tool and as something for travel or to get a job done. This work is coming at it from the point of view of the horse, and that's a little bit different than the old school mentality of the cowboy view of being the alpha, from throwing spurs on and making sure they listen to you. It's asking, what's going on with that horse? What's that horse feeling? What's that horse trying to tell us? And this just feels like a way for me to give back to some of these animals and help them to feel better. We don't always know what they have going on. I guess any way we can prolong their life and make them feel better along the way, that doesn't feel like, I'm not doing this as my goal to have a successful business. It feels just like a service that needs to be done for them.